Okay, so this session is called Introduction to Accent Reduction. And let me talk a little bit about the goal of working on your accent. It is not the goal of accent training is not for you to get rid of your foreign accent. If you are an adult and you learned English after the age of about, 12 or so. Now, maybe some of you studied English when you were younger than that, but usually if you studied English when you were younger than that, you didn't really pay attention. And then in high school, maybe you worked a little more. Then in college or EPI coming over here, you realize you're going to have to learn it. If you learned a second language later in life, you're always going to have an accent. No problem. So the goal is not to get rid of your accent. It's not to master English pronunciation, but it's to increase your intelligibility. You don't want your pronunciation to interfere with other people understanding you, okay? And I just really want to stress, a foreign accent is not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, this is just part of American culture, but a lot of times when people speak with a foreign accent, maybe Jason can speak to this too, to me, depending on what country they come from, they sound extra intelligent with an accent, or extra cultured, or exotic. So it can have a real, positive side too. But the main thing is you don't want it to interfere with your communication. So that's one of the goals of accent training. And another goal of accent training is to increase your own understanding. You want people to understand you, and you want to understand other people. Now, how are those connected? If you have pronunciation difficulties in English, then you are probably not hearing those things when people are speaking to you in English. I'll give you a quick example if I can figure this thing out. Okay, this is called the document camera. Okay. I speak Russian. Not that great. But I learned Russian in university, and then I worked as a translator. So I was always working with the written language. And I'm going to write some Russian here using just English letters so you can read it. But I learned that the word for now is, you'd sort of write it like this in English. Сейчас. And the word for hour is час. And actually, this literally means this hour, and this means hour, but they use it to mean 1 o'clock. Like if you say something's going to happen at 1 o'clock, you say it's happening at hour. Anyway, час. Well, I was in Russia, and I was with a group of people, and we were supposed to be going into a concert. And the Russian lady who was guiding our group said, come on, you got to go in. And I said, well, what time does the concert start? And she said, сейчас. I heard this. Doesn't that sound kind of like it? Сейчас. Сейчас. And I said, at 1 o'clock? 1 o'clock? And she said, no. I heard this. So I said, час? And she said, no, час. And I said, are you saying час? You see what and she said, no, I'm saying час. Well, she was saying this word. But one thing I did not understand is that in spoken Russian, this syllable, this is heard a little bit, but this totally disappears. So to my American ears, I thought she was saying 1 o'clock, she was saying now. And because of the fact that I wasn't aware of that pronunciation feature, now when I spoke, I would say сейчас for now, whereas the Russians were saying сейчас. I said it funny. They could still understand me, but I couldn't understand them. So you see where I'm coming from? Working on your accent will help you be understood, but it'll also help you understand what people are saying to you. Okay. Back to laptop. So let me say something about why you may have difficulty pronouncing English. Several things. Okay, let's try this. Oops. For one thing, pronunciation often is not taught. Were any of you taught English pronunciation when you were learning English? Yes? Tell us about it. I mean, how much time was given to it, and what was it like?
Well, I remember when I was looking up words in the dictionary, they have the phonetic translation.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so you got the phonetic transcription. Okay, that's a big help. And by the way, it's a real advantage these days that you can get to the dictionary online. You know, you just Google a word and then click the little thing and it'll say it for you. So it's a lot easier now to, if you can't figure out the phonetic script, you can at least get some audio. Okay, did anybody have a pronunciation course as part of your English training? No. So how are you supposed to have a handle on this if you were never taught? So in many settings, pronunciation simply isn't taught. And beyond that, you have to learn to hear the sounds of English before you can produce them. So let's say it wasn't taught to you, but you're over here in the States and you're trying to learn to pronounce things correctly. You're asking, how's this word pronounced? How's that word pronounced? If you are naturally good at it, you might pick some of that up. And you know, some people are naturally good at it, but others just aren't going to hear it unless they're given some instruction on what to listen for. You've got to be able to hear something before you can produce it. It's got to be in there before it can come out. Now, y'all going to have to forgive me because I'm not used to teaching with PowerPoint. I'm used to writing all over a whiteboard. So continually going back here, and what I want to do is write on my screen and have it show up there, which it won't do. But I'm just going to work hard on going back and forth and keeping my train of thought. Okay, here's something else about pronunciation. Pronunciation is not knowledge. It's not something that you can learn and be told. Pronunciation is more like a skill. Okay, any basketball players here? Anybody like to play basketball? Okay, one at least. Any basketball fans? I think people too serious students. When I was a girl in school, I played basketball, and they taught us to make a certain kind of shot called a layup, where here's the basket, and you come up to the basket, and we were taught to come up on the right side, well, to make a right layup shot. You go off your left foot, you take the ball, and you do this little hop thing. That's a layup shot. Okay, can you do it now? Probably not. You might be able to. But with a layup shot in basketball, or anything you learn that's a skill, somebody has to show you how to do it. You know, they break it down and walk you through it. And then you have to do it about 100 times. And then you'll have it. Pronunciation is like that. First you have to be able to hear what it is you're trying to do, and then you have to do it, and do it, and do it, and do it, and do it. And that can be very frustrating for people who are more educated, because a lot of what you guys deal with is mastering knowledge and content and information, and pronunciation just doesn't work that way. And another thing, Dr. Morris up there could probably speak to this. When you're dealing with pronunciation, you're dealing with making sounds you might not normally make. So that's kind of having to lay down new motor pathways. You're having to learn new ways of moving muscles and coordinating muscles. And then when you're trying to perceive things, perceive sounds that aren't in your language, then that's new information too. And a lot of that is right brain stuff. It has to do with pitch, with rhythm, the hearing side of it does. And those are the things that most of us are mastering when we're children. You know, basic motor skills, and then grasping the basic sound structure of our language. So it's just harder for you when you're older. Okay, let's see what else makes English difficult to pronounce. It's hard to pronounce because you're not taught it. You have to hear it before you can produce it. It takes so much skill. And English spelling can cause confusion. I don't have to explain that to you guys. You know, English spelling is very complex. It's not totally chaotic as it sometimes seems, but the rules are complex and there's lots of exceptions. That all has to do with the history of English. And if you are a literate and educated person, as all of you are very, very dependent on the visual channel for learning. I mean, even if you're a kinesthetic learner, you still are very influenced by what comes in through your eyes. And I'll give you an example of this. I was teaching a class a number of years ago, a long time ago, and one of the students was an older man from South America, very educated older man from South America. And I'd given the students some pictures. It was a very low-level class, beginning class, given some little pictures, and for each picture I was trying to teach just one phrase that went with it. Like this was the story of Joe's morning routine. And for the first picture I said, Joe wakes up. And that elderly gentleman, he tried to say it, and Joe wakes up. And then by the time we got to the third picture, he'd forgotten the first one again. So we went over it and over it and over it. And then I said, here, let me write it on the board. So this is what I wrote on the board. And he said, oh, Joe walk a soup. You know, can you see where he got that? Joe walk a soup. And I said, no. Joe wakes up. Yeah. Joe walk a soup. Joe walk a soup. And that just lodged itself in his brain, and he couldn't get it out. He couldn't get it through his ears, and once he saw something, what came in totally displaced what was coming in through the ears. Okay. Now, I got to keep an eye on the time because I want to get to the useful stuff, not just the information. Let's look at some of the factors that are involved in the success that some people have with pronunciation. Some people get better at it than others. And let me just go ahead and say right now, I'm giving you some information, and what I'm trying to do is sort of give you like a map of the landscape. I'm laying out the landscape for you. I want to talk about what pronunciation is, what the different elements of it are, and once you've got that figured out, then you'll have a bit of a tool in your hand for attacking it. But then we're going to look at some practical, specific things you can do to practice on it, and I'm also going to give you some tips of where you can go from here, because we can only do so much in 2 hours. But let's look here at some factors that influence success. Native language. The farther that your language is from English, the more difficult it is for you to learn English pronunciation. And the gentleman from Vietnam, now you might not have a hard time, but as far as the sounds and the ups and downs and the way things are put together, English and Vietnamese are really far apart. English and Chinese are pretty far apart. English and Bengali's a little bit closer. The Romance languages are closer. It's easier. So you can't do anything about your native language. If you're from one of the more distant languages, you have more ground to travel. However, research has been done that shows that the second major factor influencing success is motivation and concern for good pronunciation. So if you care about it, if you're aware that it's important, and if you work at it, you can go a long ways. And that's under your control. The third factor is exposure, and that's the amount of time spent in practice, both listening and speaking. And what's important there, time is important, the amount of time, but the quality is important, not just the quantity. When I say quality, I mean if you learn to listen for certain features and then practice them, you'll get farther in a short amount of time than somebody who hasn't learned to listen to those features, and a large amount of language goes by and they still can't pick out the important things. The learner's natural ability, yeah, that makes a difference. Some people, like I say, some people are naturally better than others. But hard work will get you far, even if you're not naturally good at it. And then this last one is important for people in your position. And that is a sense of your identity. You have to kind of be sure of yourself. And I've written down here, you need to be comfortable sounding American. Sometimes there's something about accent. It's very unconscious. It's very close to our sense of who we are. And sometimes if you're in a country where you're not loving the culture, or maybe you're going through one of those depressions that are very normal, part of culture adjustment, you might not like the way English feels in your mouth. So there's all kind of things going on there, but some people say that when you're speaking a second language, it's like you get to have whole nother facet of your personality. You get, like if you're from China, you have your Chinese voice, and then when you're speaking English, you have your American voice. And does that make any sense to you? Gain a little bit of a sort of a different identity? But anyway, that's one thing that can make a difference. I worked with a lady for a while from Russia, and this was years and years ago, and her family had been forcibly expelled from the country. And her attitude towards English was like, oh, that stupid language. I can never learn that stuff. And what that was really representing was her grief at being separated from her homeland, because she wanted to be somewhere else. She was here. She hated English because it represented, something that was a source of real grief in her life. Okay, let me see where we are going next. Any comments up till now? Have I said anything that makes sense to you? Yeah, okay. Let's see where we're going next. Okay, so what's involved in pronouncing English as far as the landscape? You tell me, what are some of the problems that you have or other people have with pronouncing English? Any hard things about English or any mistakes that you hear people make? This is American style teaching, very interactive. Yes, ma'am.
Spanish,
yes.
your schwa sound.
The schwa sound. Can you give me an example of the schwa, of a word with a schwa? Probably every word.
We say the name. I will feel them.
Addis?
Allison.
Oh, Allison, yeah.
We say Allison, but your A, that A.
Alison, like Alison.
Hard for me.
Is this a Spanish word as well as an English word? Oh, you. Okay.
Some countries say banana. We say plátano.
Oh, plátano. Okay, plátano. Okay. Well, the countries that do say banana, can you give us a good Spanish pronunciation of that word?
Banana.
Banana. In English, it's banana. Okay. So we have a schwa. We basically have versions of schwa in both of those. Okay. Excellent. Give me another problem with pronouncing English. What's wrong with connected speech? Or what's hard about it? Or where does the problem happen?
You have to think about what you are going to say, and at the same time, you have to try to connect those words. You shouldn't pronounce words separately.
Okay.
Sound more native-like.
Okay. Let me put it this way. Run words together. Or, connected speech. So in other words, you have to know what's coming next to get these sounds working together like they should. Is that what you meant? Okay. Yeah, here's an example. I think I have this example on the handout. Did you eat? Did you? A D followed by a y sound comes out sounding like a J. Ja. Yeah. So, am I showing up there? Tant versus important. Okay. I know more things are coming to your minds, but y'all are being reserved.
Like the first time I say decal, I say decal. So
Decal?
Yeah, decal, and like the represent, I say represent. So which part you should emphasize more? That's a big problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does the stress go? All right.
Also, like the word academic. I used to say academic.
Academic.
Stress.
Okay. Actually, you all are giving me really good answers because you're giving me some answers that deal with individual sounds and some that are dealing with stress. A lot of people, when they think pronunciation, the only thing they think about is individual sounds. Like I can't make a th sound, or I can't make an r, or a schwa, or an I, or an eh. So you guys are already thinking beyond that. But let me go back here. Laptop. And the information I have that I'm going to be going through, here, is on your handout. It's there for you to take notes on, but you don't have to write everything down because I've tried to give you some of it already. I'm going to talk about the elements of pronunciation, and this is on the front of one of those handouts. There's a little chart there that says elements of pronunciation, and this is actually over on the right side of that little chart. And let's start by looking at segmental features. Segmental features are, as I mentioned, individual sounds. People have trouble with R, TH, vowels, sometimes other sounds. You see that? Okay. And I'm sure you guys can think of more sounds that you personally have problems pronouncing. But there's also the problem of putting sounds together into what we call sound clusters, like the word structure. This cluster of 3 consonants in a row, that particular cluster is very common in English. And if you come from a language that puts a consonant and then a vowel, a consonant and then a vowel, a consonant and a vowel, and all of a sudden you have to put 3 consonants together, it can be very difficult to get that out. I had a Japanese student, and he said something about the turasu kanu. Turasu kanu. Anybody know what a turasu kanu is? Where you throw your turas? Yeah, Japanese doesn't like T and R being put together, so instead of trash, it was turas. Japanese also doesn't like ending a word in an S, so he stuck a U on it. Turasu kanu. That was a little hard to understand. Trash can. Okay, and then in addition to individual sounds and clusters of sounds, there's what happens to sounds next to each other. And one of our participants was just talking about connected speech. You mentioned that. Now, here's what happens when these words are right next to each other. What did you do? Hear how that turns into a j? What did you do? What did you do? What did you do? Are you aware of the fact that you hear that all day long? You hear j when it's duh and ya? What did you do? Another thing is when you put sounds next to each other that are similar, and we've got a whole handout about this. I'll talk more about this later. But these sounds are similar sounds. Well, first of all, D and T are the same in your mouth. They only differ from what's going on down here in your vocal cords. But in English, we say, I need to stop talking. Okay, I need, so I close my D, and then I open my T. I need to stop talking. And people who come from other languages often say, I needed to stop a-talking. Yeah? Makes sense. You think, okay, if I pronounce all the words, it'll be nice and clear. Actually, you pronounce all the sounds separately. If you pronounce all these sounds separately and introduce a little sound between these 2 words and a little sound between these 2 words, Americans have a lot of trouble understanding what you're saying because there will be too many syllables. I needed to stop a-talking. Huh? I needed to stop a-talking. It's just, and have you ever had this experience? You've probably had this experience even when you're listening to English, but you hear what somebody says, it's like, huh? Oh, yeah. Huh? Oh, yeah. Huh? You know what I mean? You can do that for a while, but it's very tiring. Okay. So what happens there? And then what happens if you have vowels next to each other? Go in the door. It sounds like there's a W after the O. Go win the door. Why don't you say that? Go win the door. Go win the door. You're not saying it. Go win the door. Okay. How about I ate an apple? I ate an apple. Oh, that's kind of down there. I hope you can see it. But between these vowels, there's a W. Between these, okay. So this is one chunk of the landscape. What happens with segments? All right. Let's take a look now, though, at another chunk of the landscape. And if you look at that little chart that I gave you, one side says segmental features, and the right side says, or left side says suprasegmental features. These are the features that are overlaid on top of the segments. And here are 3 of them. There's 6 features on this side that we're going to look at. But one is the whole question of syllables. You have got to pronounce, you've got to put the right number of syllables in a word, not too many and not too few. And I had a friend years ago named Scott who went to work in a country in Africa where they didn't like to have clusters again. So for the whole year he was there, he was called Sikoti. Sikoti. Well, that was kind of cute, actually. He liked being called Sikoti. But you can see that if the people in that country were using their language's phonological rules and putting those rules on English, and it changed the sound of the English. If you're from Korea, you don't like the ch sound at the end of the word. Koreans often will say churchy or wifey. Here is a problem Americans have. I worked with a gentleman from Africa, and his name was John Nkola. Nkola. Americans can't say Nkola, so everybody called him John Nicola. See, that's Americans taking English rules and putting them on something from another language. And then, just a moment ago, somebody from the front row said something about this word academic. I had a student who took the whole accent class with me last year, and the first thing I did was have people record a little interview and discuss what their academic work was. And he said, "Macdemic field is blah, blah, blah." Macdemic. Macdemic. And Macdemic sounds to me like a name of somebody from Scotland, like McDonald's. You know, McDonald's, Macdemic. I couldn't catch what he was saying, Macdemic. And what he did is he took instead of saying my academic with that y sound, my yakademic, he just dropped that syllable, and he dropped this unstressed syllable. So too few syllables, and it became difficult to understand. Okay, I need to pick up the pace here. You got to have the right number of syllables. You have to have the right syllable stressed, and we've already talked about that. You were talking about important versus important, and you've all had trouble with knowing where the stress goes. And it's hard in English because there's not a real regular rule. But then there's the whole question of basic sentence stress. Once you got your word stress right, are you guys having trouble seeing the bottom of that? Can you see it okay? Okay, once you have your word stress right, there's the whole question of sentence stress. And I want to show you something about English that you may not have been aware of. But I hope that after being here tonight, when you go out, you're going to start hearing this everywhere you go. I have a sentence here with 3 words in it. Cows eat grass. Okay? Now here is a sentence with 5 words in it. Allow me to pronounce these 2. Cows eat grass. The cows eat the grass. 5 words, but still the same number of, takes about the same amount of time to say it. Let's go up to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, but 7 syllables. The cows are eating the grass. Let's go up to 8 syllables. The cows will have been eating the grass. So let me put it all together for you. Cows eat grass. The cows eat the grass. The cows are eating the grass. The cows have been eating the grass. Did you notice it takes the same amount of time to say all those sentences, even though the last one has 8 syllables and the first one has 3 syllables? Do you know about this, Jason? Okay, good. That's because the way we do the basic rhythm of a sentence in English, the basic stress pattern is we stress certain words and others are de-stressed. English is what's called a stress-timed language. That means the length of the syllables is irregular. The timing of what we say is dependent on the number of stressed syllables in a word. So let me go back up here. Cows eat grass. If you come from a language which puts equal stress on all the syllables, then this will get longer and longer. Cows eat grass. The cows eat the grass. The cows are eating the grass. The cows have been eating the grass. See what I mean? Japanese is a language like that. I don't mean to be making fun of any languages by anything I say, but Japanese has kind of a pop 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 sound to it. Spanish is a little bit more like this, pop 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 pop, regular syllables. But now look at this. The cows are eating the new grass. The cows are eating the new grass. I added an additional stressed word. So this takes longer to say than the ones above it. I want you guys to say this with me. I want you to wake up, and I'm going to clap. We won't do that last one. Don't do this one. Just do these 4. I want you to say these with me just to feel the rhythm, okay? Cows eat grass. The cows eat the grass. The cows are eating the grass. The cows have been eating the grass. Okay, do you feel a little rushed in between? What you have to do with the stuff in between is reduce it. Now, sometimes people think, oh, to be understood, I need to say every single word as clearly as I can. Well, no. You say every single word totally, clearly, and stress everything, and the American's going to have a lot of trouble understanding you. Because the way we listen in English is we listen from one stressed syllable to the next. So we're hearing cows eat grass. The cows have been eating the grass. I can understand that. The cows have been eating the grass. But if you say, the cows have been eating the grass, huh? Oh, there's that little bit of a lag time to understand. All right. So what I'd like to do now is look at what words are stressed and what are not. And this is on your handout. The words that get the stress are the words where the main meaning is. Normally. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and words like won't, can't, isn't. So where the main meaning is. The words that are unstressed tend to be the function words that just tie it together grammar-wise. Are y'all finding this? I'm not quite sure. It doesn't look quite the same on your handout as it does on the overhead here. Okay. Your function words, articles, pronouns, auxiliary verbs, prepositions, and so on, these tend to be reduced. So they're going to be shorter and more quiet. Sometimes you'll not hear them when people are saying them. So I want you to pick up your the papers you have there. There is a handout here. It's the 3rd page. At the top it says, I need to go to Walmart today. Can you find that? Okay. What I'd like you to do is take your pen or pencil, and I'd like you to look at that first line and underline the words that you think would be stressed using this basic sentence stress pattern, using this as your guideline. So Jason, Mr. American over there, why don't you get us started by telling us what words you think would be stressed in that first sentence there. I need to go to, okay. Need, okay. Go. Walmart. Today. Okay, underline that. Need, go, Walmart today. Got that? Need, go, Walmart today. Okay, what about the second sentence there, Jason? You. Well, it seems like you would do you. It depends on how you say it. Do you want to come? But how about if we just say it totally neutral? Okay, want. Let's, I keep thinking it's up there behind me, but it's not. Want. Okay, we have do you want to come? So want and come. Okay, we got main verbs. And when I say main verbs, it means we're not using the little helping verbs that are used in tenses like the present progressive, where you say I am cooking. am would be a helping verb. Okay, so Jason, now, would you please read that whole first line, stressing the words that you just told me?
I need to go to Walmart today. Do you want to come?
Okay, now, I heard everything he said, but here's how my ear follows it. Need go Walmart today. Want to come? So I can understand him 100%, and my brain is following those stressed words. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Have you all noticed this pattern in English? That nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives are stressed? Okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I want to see. So give me some feedback. Okay, I know y'all are tired. I'm tired too. I've been working with children all day. Okay. Take these rules, and we're going to take just a minute or two. Underline what you think are the stressed syllables in the rest of this dialogue. Okay, let's do a little comparison of results. And if you didn't finish 100%, you can finish as we go over this. What about the second line? Does anybody want to volunteer? That negative element, I didn't put that here. I put negative contractions, but that negative element, no, that'll be stressed because that's main meaning. Okay? No. Don't think so. Okay, don't is a negative element. Think is your main verb. So is an adverb. If you can't remember what an adverb is, don't worry. We're going to get your ears tuned and you'll just start to pick this up. But no, I don't think so. I is not stressed. Listen, no, I don't think so. Okay, next phrase. Got, lot, work, do. Good. Got, lot, work, do. Next line. Want, get, anything, there. Yes. Do you want me to get you anything there? Do you want me to get you anything there? Yes. Next line. Well, don't, mind. Okay, if. What's if? I don't know what if is, but we usually don't stress it. But don't mind. Use some socks. Could is one of those, it's called a modal auxiliary. Could, should, would. Those usually aren't stressed. Okay? Use some socks. Okay. How about the next line? No problem. They're both stressed. No problem. Glad, get, kind of glad, get. I'll be glad to get them for you. Glad to get them for you. Them for you, those are all unstressed elements. Okay, and then what kind? Yeah, stressed, stressed. What kind? Next line. Just white socks. Just white socks. Okay, next line. All need now. That's all I need for now. Okay, now listen. Jason, I'm just going to keep roping you in. I hope you don't mind. Oh, I need to pick on you too some, Reed. But I'll pick on him first. Okay, Jason, let's you and me read this. And we'll try and just read it naturally. We'll try not to do it according to script. But let's just try and do it naturally. And you see if what we say matches up with what we have there. Okay. UBA. You've already done that first line, so go ahead and do it again.
I need to go to Walmart today. Do you want to come?
No, I don't think so. I've got a lot of work to do.
Do you want me to get you anything there?
Well, if you don't mind, I could use some socks.
No problem. I'll be glad to get them for you. What kind?
Just white socks. That's all I need for now. Okay, I see. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. We're not stressing it, so it might be a little bit difficult to hear. But you've got it underlined. And what I want you to do is, would you turn to the person next to you just for a second? And one of you is A, one of you B, one A, one B. And would you just read this dialogue? And go ahead and stress it extra, because I want you to get the feeling for this. Like the first person can say, I need to go to Walmart today. Do you want to come? And the next person can say, no, I don't think so. Okay? So emphasize a little bit so you'll get the feel. Grab the person next to you, and if you're really tired and you don't want to do this, you can just listen to other people do it. But pair up as much as you can. Okay, let me have your attention. Can I have your attention? How does that feel to stress those elements? Does it feel a little odd? Good. That means you're doing it right. It means you're using stress patterns that are foreign to you. Because when you're speaking with a foreign accent, you're using familiar stress patterns when you're speaking English. But to pronounce English correctly, you're going to have to use stress patterns that feel foreign to you. This is a little exercise, but as you go about your week this week, listen to Americans just as you listen to conversations or watch television, just listen. People will say things like, listen to me. Just listen to Americans. Just listen to Americans. Listen to how Americans, that's all stress, how Americans speak. But you're going to notice if you can pay attention, earlier I said you got to hear it before you can do it. If you'll pay attention, you will start to notice this very regular stress pattern. Now, this gentleman here with the black shirt on, who was reading with Reed, I was listening to him do this, and you sounded so easy to understand. So easy to understand. He was working hard to get it out, but to me it was like, oh, that's easy to understand. I don't even have to work at it. Okay? I'm trying to motivate you. All right, now, if you look at that same handout, there's some information in the middle, and I put that there to distract you because I was hoping you wouldn't look at the bottom. But now I want you to look at the bottom. It's the exact same dialogue. Fold your paper like this and just look at the bottom. Just look at the bottom. The words that I took out are, I took out most, not all, but most of the unstressed words. And you've got to be able to understand what the unstressed words are even when they aren't given their full value. So I'm going to read the top to you. I want you to look at the bottom and see if you can fill in the blanks. Okay? Oh, I need to look at the top. Okay. I need to go to Walmart today. Do you want to come? See if you can write in those blanks. I need to go to Walmart today. Do you want to come? No, I don't think so. I've got a lot of work to do. No, I don't think so. I've got a lot of work to do. Do you want me to get you anything there? Do you want me to get you anything there? Well, if you don't mind, I could use some socks. Well, if you don't mind, I could use some socks. No problem. I'll be glad to get them for you. I'll be glad to get them for you. What kind? Just white socks. That's all I need for now. That's all I need for now. Okay, without looking at the top, just looking at the part you were just looking at, tell me what goes in those lines. I need to Walmart today. Yeah. Do you want to come? But in normal speech, we'll say, do you want to come? Or do you want to come? Okay. No, I don't think so. I've got a lot of work to do. One reason you hear Americans say words like gonna, gotta, lotta, have to, is because of this rule. You've got a stressed element and an unstressed element, and it just turns into sort of Okay? Next line. Do you want me to get You, anything there? Well, if you don't mind, I could use some socks. No problem. I'll be glad to get them for you. Just white socks. Oh, what kind? Just white socks. That's all I need for now. Yeah, for now. So these words are coming out like tuh, fur. Just very small. Okay. That is a little information on basic sentence stress. And I stuck this in the middle of the page. Like I said, I was trying to distract you so you wouldn't look at the bottom. But I thought this was interesting. I found a little exercise in one of the books that I'm going to show you that gives a number of sentences that have the same stress pattern. And this is just helpful for sort of starting to get the feel for it. Listen to these questions, and they all have this stress pattern. Do, 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 boo. Did you agree? Did you apply? Where had he gone? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do you hear that? Let's do them together. Did you agree? Did you apply? Where had he gone? And the answers have a slightly different stress pattern. They are, I could not agree. Ba, 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 ba. I could not agree. Let's do the second one. I applied today. Last one. He had gone to town. Okay. I could not, negative element, agree. Stressed syllable of the main verb. Main verb, and then whatever that is. Adverb, right? Adverb? Okay. Gone to town. Verb, noun. All right. So that's just a little something. I don't think that's on you. Is that on your handout? But
Different sentences.
different sentences. Okay. All right. So if you look back to your chart about what are the elements of pronunciation, back to sort of our map again of the landscape, your segmental features, and now we've looked at these three suprasegmental features, and these three features, getting the right number of syllables, getting the right stress within the word, and the right stress within the sentence, this gives you the basic rhythm of English. But then there are other things we do on top of that to help people follow the meaning. So we're going to look now at that second little group of suprasegmental features. The first one is called prominence or shifting stress. And let me grab this so that I know that I'm looking at the same thing as you. Okay, the basic sentence stress pattern says that basically we stress nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. But on top of that, there's always one or two words within a sentence that really stand out. And this business of having one or two elements really stand out, it's most often used in English when you're introducing new information or when you have a specific focus in what you're saying. And let's first look at new information. And I think once you become aware of this, if you can tune your ears to this, you'll start to notice people doing this all the time. So, at the top of the page 2 of your handout, there's a little dialogue here. And I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to kind of overemphasize it, but let's see, the one that says elements of pronunciation on the front, on the back, there's a little dialogue at the top. A lot of paper. That's sort of my trademark in teaching. I always create a lot of paper. Okay. Listen to me read it. What's the matter? I lost my hat. So in those first two sentences, we're going to stress what's, matter, lost, hat. But now, from here on, you're going to be seeing new information. So listen. What's the matter? I lost my hat. What kind of hat? You hear how That gets the main emphasis now. What kind of hat? I already know you're talking about a hat. Hat is now old information. First time that hat's mentioned, I lost my hat. But now it's old, so I'm going to put it in the background. What kind of hat? It was a rain hat. Okay? What color rain hat? The first time I said rain, I emphasized it because it was new. What kind of hat? A rain hat. But now rain goes in the background. What color rain hat? It was white. White's the new information. White with stripes. So it was white. Now put white in the background. White with stripes. There was a white hat with stripes in the car. White hat with stripes is old, car is new. There was a white hat with stripes in the car. Yeah, I heard somebody say it. Which car? The one I sold. Isn't that neat? I haven't seen those tired looks again. But it is kind of neat. Okay, read.
Mm-hmm.
Let's read.
Okay.
Read, let's read. Read, what's the matter?
I lost my hat.
What kind of hat?
It was a rain hat.
What color rain hat?
It was white. White with stripes.
There was a white hat with stripes in the car.
Which car?
The one I sold. Did that go too fast, or could you follow that? The American ear hears this. What matter? Lost hat. What kind? Rain. Color. White. Stripes. Da-da-da-da-da. Car. So the stressed elements, the new information is how we follow it along. We got our basic sentence stress, and then we're pulling out sort of the key elements. Now, in this case, we're pulling out the new information. But another thing we'll do is pull out specific information we want to put in focus. You've heard stuff like this. I think on your handout I have just a short example about, are we having pizza for lunch? No, we're having pizza for supper. We're having chicken for lunch. But I have a longer example I want to show you here on the overhead. I've written here the sentence, Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Noun, verb, noun, adverb. Well, it's a noun, but it's an adverbial phrase. Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. That's your basic, vanilla, neutral, default, basic sentence stress. Now, I can actually take each of those elements and pull it up and make it the most prominent one in the sentence. So the first one, I can say, Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. And I still have the basic stress underneath, but I'm pulling up Sally because I want to contrast Sally with something. Sally, if I'm going to do this one, Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Sally in contrast to who? Do you see anything there that would contrast nicely with Sally? How about Marie? Yeah, Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Marie isn't free this year. So since I stressed Sally, you know it's Sally in contrast to somebody else. Okay? Or I could do this one. Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Yeah, it's too long to drive, so she's not going to drive. She's going to be flying. Yeah, the focus there is on flying. How about this one? Sally's going to be flying. Well, the rest of them are kind of in order. Sally's going to be flying to Colorado in July. Yeah, not New York. The conference is in Denver. Okay. Oh, does she like the snow? Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. I don't think she'll see much snow. Are you with me on this? Okay, let me wake you up again. If you are willing to work with your partner for a second, I would like you to look at that. Sally will be flying to Colorado in July, and at random decide which of these stressed syllables you want to pull out and make the most important one. And see if the person you're working with can hear which one you've stressed, and then on the basis of that, they can figure out which one goes with it. Got it? Okay, let me get your attention. Let me get your attention. Y'all test me. Somebody give me that sentence and pull out the word of your choice, and I'll see if I can understand what you're trying to stress. Would you like to do it? Say it again. To tell you the truth, they all sound the same to me. Stress it even more. And I'll tell you something. To get the stress right, to get English stress, you've got to do what feels like overstressing to you. Seriously. Okay, do it again. Oh, good. Because it's too far to drive, right? It's too far to drive? All right. Yeah, this English makes huge use of stress to help follow meaning. And I remember I had a Japanese student one time, and he was joking. He said, you know, when you speak Japanese, you speak like this. When you speak English, you speak like this. Ooh, ooh. And, you know, he was making fun of it. But the thing is, just the normal English ups and downs sounded extreme to him. So you got to be willing to go out of your comfort zone a little bit and be extreme. Okay, somebody else try me. Yes, ma'am.
Sally will be flying to Colorado in July.
Sally will be flying to Colorado because the conference is in Denver, right? All right. Very good. And let me say something. You just said something which is very typically Chinese. And since there's a lot of Chinese people here, I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you did it. She stressed the word Colorado, and I was able to catch her stress. But let me show you how she did it, and then the American way, and see if you can pick the difference. She said, Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Versus this, Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Yeah, you made it louder, which is good. And in English, we make it louder and also higher pitch. Sally will be flying to Colorado in July. Yeah. So louder and higher. Okay. Let me hear you say that again. Sally will be flying to Colorado.
Sally will be flying to Colorado in July.
Okay. Better already. Better already. Somebody else try me. Yes, ma'am.
Sally will be flying to Colorado in July.
Oh, she's not going to walk? It's too far to drive? Did I understand you right? Okay, good. Okay, now do y'all need a break? Do you need to just stand up, turn around? No? Okay, I won't give you a break. Of course, at any point if you need to sneak out and sneak back, feel free to. But I'm going to give you a mental break, and for that I need your help. As Jed mentioned at the beginning, I'm working as a speech pathologist right now, speech and language pathologist. And so I work with American kids who are having trouble developing their own language. Some of them just have problems with the difficult sounds like L's and R's and TH's and S's. Some of them are stutterers, and some of them have more sort of language development problems. But I brought with me my iPad. Okay. Because I have an application, and I think it only costs about $30 if any of y'all have iPhones or iPads. I was using it with some kids today, and I thought, oh, wow, this would be useful for people learning English. And I wanted to show it to you. Oh, okay. It's called ArticPix. All right, let's see how the volume is. Turn it up just a tiny bit.
Share.
Okay, let me back this up and show you how it works. This is not designed. Is that noise going to bother you? Can you tolerate it for a sec? Maybe I'll turn it down a tiny bit. Yeah. High frequency, whatever. Just have to ignore it. Okay, this is designed for kids who are having difficulty learning the sounds of their own language. And there is a free version that you can download that just gives you like one sound area to practice on. But these are the particular sounds, like the TH sound, L, R, S, H. And you may not have trouble with any of these sounds, but here's what I noticed about this that is helpful. Let's do S blends. Okay, now when I use this with kids, I have one little girl, she has trouble with SW, SP, and SM. She wants to say small. Her tongue comes forward. Small. Fell. And I'm trying to get her to keep her tongue back. And it's hard for her with M, P, and W because those are front of the mouth. Those are pulling the S out anyway. So I worked with her today with this. And it's got little flashcards.
Sweat.
Here, I'm not giving you her name, so... Oh, I'll just put myself in as the student. There I am, Dr. K. They call me Dr. K.
Sweat.
Sweat.
Yay.
Yay. And this just allows me to keep my data on with how well they say it. But if you flip this over...
I sweat when it's hot.
I sweat when it's hot. Listen to the rhythm.
I sweat when it's hot.
I sweat when it's hot. I sweat when it's hot. And I can practice it and then record myself saying it. I sweat when it's hot.
I sweat when it's hot.
Now I'm going to compare myself to this.
I sweat when it's hot. I sweat when it's hot.
I thought, that would be a very useful tool when you're trying to learn English, because even though these are simple, short sentences, the vocabulary is easy, you can practice the rhythm of individual sentences and then compare your pronunciation with the standard voice.
Sweep.
Sweep. Tell me a sound you have trouble pronouncing in English. Somebody has got to have a difficult sound. I don't have vowels. These are all consonants. TH?
Like Thursday.
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 Okay.
Bath.
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 Bath mat. Bath,
Bath.
mat.
Bath mat.
Don't forget the bath mat.
Don't forget the bath mat. I have a lot of... It's one of the harder sounds for English-speaking kids to get, too. So I have a lot of kids who want to say bath mat or bath mat.
Smoothie.
Smoozy.
Smoothie.
Smoozy. Smoozy.
Smoothie.
Oops. Let me do it again. Smoozy.
Smoothie. Smoothie.
Doesn't match.
Smoothie. Smoothie.
So I just want to offer that to you as something that if you got an iPhone or iTouch, iPad Touch or iPod Touch or iPad, it'll give you practice with the individual sounds, but also I really think that
The thorn is sharp.
I think this is the most valuable thing for you guys. The thorn is sharp. The thorn is sharp.
South. We are heading south.
Heading south.
Toothache. I have a toothache.
Okay. I have a toothache. I have a toothache. So it's also helping you with this business of linking what happens on word borders. Okay, so that's a little break. Anybody who wants to come up and play with it afterwards is welcome to. Toothbrush. Somebody's got it already. Okay. So let me see if I can get my... Can you switch me back over, Reed? Okay. Now, in looking at our map, we've done segmental features, super segmental features, part 1 and part of part 2. We got a little bit more here to finish. And then I want to give you some practical tips. But talk to me. Is this at all helpful to you? Are you thinking, oh, that's why that's hard to say, or oh, that's why? Is any of this giving you any aha moments? Sure. I'll tell you what. Ask the person next to you if there's anything that we've talked about in this last hour or so, anything this evening, or what the most interesting thing is that they've heard so far this evening. Maybe they'll say, oh, nothing interesting. Or maybe they'll say, oh, da-da-da-da-da is interesting. Okay? So ask the person next to you. Let me make sure my question's clear. Ask the person next to you, what is interesting to you from what we've talked about this evening? Oh, right up there. Okay, let me have your attention again. Does anybody have anything you could share with the group? Did the person you were talking to have anything that helped them so far this evening? I'm not looking for compliments on my teaching. I'm just wanting to see if anything's connecting for you. Actually, this is a teaching technique. When you're trying to get students to talk, if I were sitting where you're sitting, I would be sitting quietly. I don't like to talk in a class. But if you ever are in this position of trying to get a class to talk, you toss out a question and nobody says anything. So then you say, well, talk to your partner instead, because then people will share their ideas. And then sometimes people will be willing to speak it in the whole group. So that is a teaching tip. Okay. Anybody want to share what their partner found helpful or interesting?
Actually, the stress thing about the stress and rhythm. Like, we understood that there is a rhythm, but we didn't know what's the rhythming style.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's good, because yeah, you know there's a rhythm, but how do you define it and get that down to the nuts and bolts? Okay, good. I'm glad that was helpful. Yes, ma'am.
We were wondering if you would offer a longer course. The 2 hours is not going to be enough.
No, it's not. I think that, Reed, are you all going to offer it again in the spring or sometime?
Well, there is a course that will be offered for full-time faculty.
Okay.
But for this, the resources that you'll be able to point to at the end will probably be.
Okay. So I think he's saying no right now.
Yeah.
But unless, go ahead and graduate and get appointed to faculty and, yeah.
Full-time instructors?
I'm sorry?
Full-time instructors?
Full-time
Yeah.
instructors would qualify. Yeah, sometimes.
I don't know, does EPI ever do this?
Actually, it's 3 courses called ENT,
Yeah.
And the other one is simply a pronunciation class.
Is it open to graduate students outside of EPI?
I think it's USC students. I think I'm not sure exactly the details.
Okay.
The other course, other than the ICA course, I think is offered to open to grad students.
Okay. So English Programs for Internationals in Burns Building, Jason there is your source of information about whether they have anything for you guys. Okay. Well, let's go a little bit more with a little more data, and then we'll do a little bit more practical, see if I can do something more practical for you this evening, and then I'll give you some information how you can carry on studying yourself. So, more suprasegmental features. Okay. We got our segments right. Over that we lay our basic stress. Over that we pull out the most important words. And then I've got my arm here representing the flow of speech. You've got all your words here. Just try and get your sounds as right as you can. You got your stress. But then the next thing is it's very important in English to help your listener know what words go together. And we divide words into what are sometimes called thought groups. So we take this flow of speech and we chop it up. And we chop it up using pauses and a little bit of a fall of intonation. If it was writing, you know, in writing there's a capital letter to start the sentence, there's an introductory clause, comma, some more, comma, period. You don't have those commas in speech. So in English what we do is we use pauses in place of that. And I've got a couple examples here to show you that where you put your pauses, showing which words go together, can change the meaning of what you're saying. The first sentence is, John said Joe is lazy. Yeah. So who's lazy? John's lazy. The second one is, John said Joe is lazy. Yeah. Now, it's a short sentence, so you'd probably just say, John said Joe is lazy. But if you wanted to be dramatic and stretch it out a bit, you could say, John said Joe is lazy. Because this is like a little sentence that goes together. Joe is lazy. John said Joe is lazy. John said Joe is lazy. Okay, I'm overemphasizing it. Let me do it like normal. John said Joe is lazy. John said Joe is lazy. John said Joe is lazy. Can you hear the difference? Okay, then I'll make it more emphasized again. Because the whole business about training your ears to hear this is because as it just goes by you in everyday language, it's not necessarily obvious until it's really been pointed out. Okay, so the first one, John, said Joe, is lazy. Say it with me. John, said Joe, is lazy. Do it again. John, said Joe, is lazy. Okay. Now let's do John said, a slight pause, Joe is lazy, like this. John said, Joe is lazy. John said, Joe is lazy. Okay. You're sounding good. Let's try this. This might be a little bit more down your alley for some of you all. A plus B times C is D. The second one is A plus B times C is D. Okay, so say the first one with me, and let's really emphasize it. A plus B times C equals D. Again, A plus B times C equals D. Okay? Then A plus B times C equals D. Again, A plus B times C equals D. Are you feeling it? Yes, no. Okay, let me show you what this looks like in speech. And here I have a little story about myself. It doesn't have any punctuation because it's supposed to be speech, not written English. And let me give it to you with no thought groups. Some languages, and I think this is true of those of you who are from Bangladesh, your language. I had a gentleman whose native language was, it wasn't Hindi, but it was an Indian language, and his intonation was da 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 da, very musical, very light and musical. But it sort of sounded like this when he spoke. My name is Kay, and I've been living in South Carolina for about 18 years. Before coming here, I lived in North Carolina, which is the state where I did the largest part of my growing up. Both my brother and sister still live there, one in Charlotte and one in Asheville. The Asheville area is great if you enjoy outdoor sports like hiking and camping. And it ended kind of going up. Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make fun of an Indian accent. But have you heard languages where da-da-da-da-da, they have a nice little roll to them like that? Okay. And then the Americans going, I'm not quite sure which words go together. I'm not quite sure I understand you. I understood every word you said, but I'm not quite sure what you said. Okay? So, how many of you come from languages where everything kind of rolls along smoothly? Does Chinese do that? What about Italian? Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
No, perhaps my Sicilian accent is like...
Sicilian accent is different dialects in Italy.
It's a different dialect.
Okay.
Italian, no.
Does Spanish roll along like that, or Spanish is a little more punctuated? More punctuated.
When I was doing my grad work, we read this novel, my major was literature, and the novel didn't have any punctuation whatsoever. And I remember it was just awful.
Okay.
The worst thing ever.
Well, there you go. You couldn't figure out what went together. You had to stop and analyze constantly. Oh, it was in Spanish.
It was in Spanish with no punctuation.
Okay. Well, speaking in English without using the adequate pauses to show people what words go together is like writing without any punctuation. It's very hard for people to understand. Now, your language, and even the languages that da-da-da-da-da-da move along like that, they've got things going on that the listeners can hear that I can't hear because I'm an American. But English makes more of a use of pauses and stress and falling pitch than most languages. Okay. So allow me to pause between thought groups here. What I'm going to do is take all this language here and I'm going to divide it into smaller chunks. And I'm going to let you know what words to go together because I'll say some words and then I will pause. And I'll say some more words and then I'll pause. And this isn't, there's not just one way of doing this. You can choose which words you chunk together. It does have to make sense grammatically. Like, I lived in North Carolina. I wouldn't say I lived, or I wouldn't say I lived in, pause, North Carolina, which, pause. That wouldn't make sense grammatically. You need to keep things together to make sense. But, you know, the speaker decides exactly how to break this up. But this means I'm pausing between phrases, and this means the end of a sentence. So listen to this. My name is Kay, and I've been living in South Carolina for about 18 years. So my name is Kay. I'm going to pause and let my pitch go down a little. And I've been living in South Carolina, pause, and my pitch goes down a little, for about 18 years. My pitch goes down farther. Before coming here, I lived in North Carolina, which is the state where I did the largest part of my growing up. Both my brother and sister still live there, one in Charlotte and one in Asheville. The Asheville area is great if you enjoy outdoor sports, like hiking and camping. Now, I could have this is kind of a long section. I could have divided that up more. I could have said, The Asheville area is great if you enjoy outdoor sports like hiking and camping. It's easier to understand, isn't it? Okay. Would you all do me a favor and just read with me? Let's, even though this is about me and not about you, let's read it together and let's exaggerate these pauses. Okay. My name is Kay, and I've been living in South Carolina for about 18 years. Before coming here, I lived in North Carolina, which is the state where I did the largest part of my growing up. And again, hold on a second. I could break this up more too. I could say, which is the state where I did the largest part of my growing up. Okay. Let's see. Both my brother and sister still live there. One in Charlotte and one in Asheville. The Asheville area is great if you enjoy outdoor sports like hiking and camping. Okay. Now, Dr. Morris, could you, just for a second, what is something you talk about all day long? The brain, maybe? Why don't you just very briefly tell us what it is you talk about all day long? Now, y'all listen to him, but don't listen to what he's saying. Listen to the way he, and don't think about, just talk naturally, okay? And y'all listen to how he puts words together in pauses. So go ahead. You might get interested in what he's saying, but try not to, okay? Try not to get interested.
When I'm dealing with students in class, we most often discuss neuroanatomy, basic neuroanatomy, and neuroscience, and study the different parts of the brain that are involved in the process of learning, and therefore, hopefully, learning something about the process of instruction and how that.
How is that? Did y'all notice he chunked it very naturally? Did you also notice that that he went up quite a bit within each chunk on his focus words? So, like, do you have any particular knowledge about or insight into stuttering? Do you know anything about stuttering?
Only that most of the neuroscientists can't find a reason for it biologically.
Okay. Can't find a reason for it biologically. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Morris. Okay. Comments or questions? Now, let me give you one quick and dirty tip. If you can slow down when you speak English and pause between phrases, that will really boost your intelligibility, even if there's sounds that you can't pronounce. So that's one takeaway thing from tonight. I wish I could give you all a whole 12-week course on pronunciation. I wish we could take it little by little and do lots and lots of practice. We can't do that tonight. But this is one thing to take away. Listen to how I'm speaking right now. If you slow down and pause between phrases, people will find it much easier to understand you. You're giving them time to catch up. If you speak quickly and there's something people can't get, they're going to get lost. If you speak more slowly and pause, then they'll often be able to figure out what you're saying, even if one or two sounds are off or the stress is off in a word. Okay? Slow down. Pause a lot between phrases. Pause more than feels natural. Okay? It's not going to feel natural to you. All right. Okay, the last item on that chart under suprasegmental features is just the question of intonation patterns. Do you know what direction an English sentence goes as far as, woo? My name is Kay. Yeah. My name is Kay, and I've lived in South Carolina for about 18 years. What we do in a sentence is we jump up and step down, jump up and step down, jump up and step down. And the jumps are generally on those words that we're trying to focus on, like Sally will be going to Colorado in July, not Marie. In July, now July, or my name is Kay. You can slide all the way down on a word, but basically we jump up, step down until we get to our next focus word. Jump up, step down, jump up, step down. Jason, could you say 3 or 4 things about your time teaching in Korea? Like, what was the best part about living and teaching overseas?
I really enjoyed being in a foreign culture and learning a lot about the culture.
I really enjoyed being in a foreign culture and learning a lot about the culture. Did you catch that? Okay. Reed, what are you doing besides working at the Center for Teaching Excellence?
That's a good question. I am studying philosophy
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that I really care about. And one day I hope to be a teacher.
One day I hope to be a teacher. Can you hear it? Okay. Again, just one more thing. Tune your ears. Start listening. Now, what about questions? Which direction do questions go? That's a trick question because it depends. Oh, it's right there. Okay. Another teaching tip. Sometimes when students don't answer, it's because the answer is too obvious. Yes. All right. WH questions tend to go down at the end. What is your name? Where do you live? How long does it take to get to your house? Yes, no questions tend to go up at the end. Are you tired? Hungry? You can do it just on a word. Hungry? Hungry? Yeah. Let me hear everybody here say, are you hungry?
Are you hungry?
It's not going up enough. Are you hungry?
Are you hungry?
Okay, now you're starting to sound like a bunch of Americans. Okay? How about this one? What is your name?
What is your name?
Oh, you're really starting to sound like a bunch of Americans. It's interesting to me, I've taught pronunciation for a long time. It's interesting to me that when people start doing things that feel funny to them, they start sounding good to me. Yeah. I had a student, I can't remember where I think she was Chinese, and she was the fruit, apple. She was always saying apple, apple. And I said, you got to say apple. Apple. No, apple. And I said, look at my mouth, do this. Apple. And she went like this. Apple. Because she hit the target, but it felt so strange because it just didn't exist in her language, So remember that. If it's feeling funny, you're getting close. All right, where are we? How important are these elements relatively speaking? Okay, I told you at the beginning, people usually think mainly of this, like what the hard sounds are when they think about pronunciation. But this is just a part of the picture. And this is not terribly scientific, but just from observation and from just what I have read and what I've experienced and what I've seen, this is about 70% of whether or not people can understand you, and this is about 30%. If you make all your sounds just right, but your word stress is off, or your basic sentence stress is off, or everything is run together, people cannot understand you. If this stuff is good, you got all the syllables, you're stressing your words right, you're stressing the stressed elements. If this is off, it really doesn't matter. If you've got this, you're much easier to understand. Okay, let me see what time it is. 1:45. Okay, I need to wrap this up then. Okay, what's practical? What can you do to improve your accent? Well, I already told you this. Try to slow down and pause between thought groups. Little typo there. Try to slow down and pause between thought groups. Number 2, focus on developing your listening skills. Just after being here tonight and doing a couple little exercises, you are now in a position where you can be intentional about listening. I had this friend at church. She had been Argelis Rodriguez. She doesn't live in Colombia anymore, but she'd been in Colombia for 18 years. And she said, people have trouble understanding me on the phone. Like I was trying to just say the word taco on the phone, taco, and they couldn't understand me. And I said, well, that's because in English, do you know what she was saying? Taco. Taco. In English, we put a little puff of air after the T and the T and the K. Taco. And she was saying taco with a beautiful Spanish T and K. It's correct.
It's hard. That happened to me. My son used to be at this school called, and the word is Morris. Okay.
Morris?
But people would say, what? And so I would have to make it up with Morris.
Morris.
And they understand.
Yeah. A little thing can throw people off. And now that is taco. That her mistake was on this side of the chart and not on this side of the chart. However, my point is she had been in the U.S. for, an enormous amount of time. She'd been here for a long time. She spoke beautiful English, but she had never noticed that the English T and K are different from the Spanish T and K. And I said, you got to say taco, put a little air there. And I saw her like a week later, and she said, that's all over the place. Everybody says t and k and p. And, once it had been pointed out to her, she started hearing it everywhere. And so I hope that you all can focus on developing your listening skills. Listen for the pauses. Listen for the ups and downs. And once you start hearing it, then you can start imitating it. Okay, I told you that working on pronunciation, it's a skill. It takes practice. So, you overhear somebody in the office say, boy, it's cold today. And so you can say to yourself, boy, it's cold today. Those are quite a prominent pattern there. So then you need to walk down the sidewalk saying to yourself, boy, it's cold today. Boy, it's cold today. I'm not kidding. Boy, it's cold today. And just say it and say it and say it. And start to get the feel of that woo pattern of English. Okay? Now, I've given you a few things tonight that you can listen for, but study courses. There are some things out there you can do on your own, and I will show them to you. I know you're busy. I know that everybody's really busy. But I want to mention 3 courses, and I've got them listed on your handout there. This one's been around for a while. It's called Pronunciation for Success. And the nice thing about this course, I've got it all videotaped, but it's on DVD now. But the whole course with the teachers is right here. So the teachers will give you a little lesson, for example, on sentence stress. They'll demonstrate it, and then they'll walk you through the exercises in the book. So this one is Pronunciation for Success. It was done a while ago, so everybody's hairdo is about, 15 years out of date. But it's excellent material. And, let's see. I guess I just have that. You can also buy CDs to accompany this so that once you've, watched one of the little segments, done a few of the exercises, you can listen to the CD in your car or, put it on your iPod and listen to it as you walk around campus, because you got to listen to this stuff. Okay, another one. This is the one we use in the course that we do with this Center for Teaching Excellence. American Accent Training. This is the least expensive of the ones I want to show you. I think it's about $25 or so on Amazon. But it's a book and CDs. And everything in the book is on the CDs. And so you know, if you just sat down and read the book and listened to the CD is reading the book to you. But again, they'll explain a section, then give a number of practice exercises. So if you can carve out, I don't know, half an hour once a week and read through a little section of the book with the listening to the lady, then listen to the audio portion as you walk around campus or as you're driving in your car, that will really help you with the training of your ears. And also you'll be practicing, saying over and over again this stuff. And then another one, that one is American accent training. And then this one, the American Accent Guide, is very similar, same basic idea. It costs around $30 or $50, depending on whether you get audio CDs or this one that I have has everything on MP3 format. So you can just flip it right over to your MP3 player. If you buy it with the CDs, you get 8 CDs. So it's cheaper, but you've got more to work with. But again, these are all designed for independent study. They're good with a teacher, but they're also, everything is here. So if you can sit down a couple times a week and take it little by little and then do lots of listening, these are all really good courses. I wish I could do more for you, but that's pretty much it. Oh, I did give you one handout that we didn't have time to go over. And we're not going to go over it. But it's the one that says linking words together. We had a little taste of that when we were talking about linking and blending. And this just gives you the specific rules. So, and I will go ahead and say one specific thing to the Chinese students, if I may. I had a lot of Chinese students in my class, with the professors, when we did this class. I've noticed that students from China often speak very precisely, and look under their section 2, where it says, when a word ending in a consonant is followed by a word beginning with the same consonant, link these words together and say the consonant only once. The first example there says, I've lived here a short time. I've lived here a short time. Because of the nature of Chinese phonology, Chinese students who are trying to speak English carefully will say, I've lived here a short time. I've lived here a short time, instead of running them together. It adds an extra beat. I've lived here a short time. I've lived here a short time. Or with another example, look under number 3. She's a bit pale. She's a bit pale. So it's typical. Now, I don't know, some of the rest of you might do this and I'm just not aware of it. But it's typical with Chinese students. Korean students do this too. When you have a word ending in a consonant and another word beginning in a consonant, you put a little air in between. That makes you hard to understand because it messes up the rhythm. So I'm just pointing that out. Wish we could practice it for 45 minutes, but we can't. Okay, I'm going to step outside and get a little cool air because you all are going to do some evaluations of this session. We want to know if it was of any value to you at all. But before I step outside, any questions or comments? Okay, if you want to come up and play with my iPod afterwards, this little program, see if it might be useful to you, feel free to. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.